The first thing I remembered was the smell, not the blood, though there was enough of it drying beneath my fingernails to turn my palms stiff and black, not the antiseptic, though the clinic had poured it over my ruined face, until every breath tasted sharp and metallic, not even the sour heat of my own fear, trapped under the bandages wrapped around my head like a funeral cloth before the funeral had even begun. I remembered the smell of lilies and fresh lilies, white and arrogant, arranged beside my hospital bed by the woman who had destroyed me. Mara stood at the foot of the bed with her hands folded over her borrowed designer purse, her eyes red from crying for the cameras waiting outside. The soft pink dress she wore made her look gentle, innocent, like a girl who had been frightened by tragedy instead of a woman who had stirred it into my cream jar with a cosmetic spatula and watched me rub death into my own skin. My face throbbed beneath the gauze. No, not throbbed, burned. Every nerve screamed as if tiny hooks had been buried under my flesh and dragged slowly downward. My scalp felt raw where my hair had come away in clumps, dark strands sticking to the pillow like wet seaweed. My eyebrows were gone, my lashes were gone, patches of skin around my cheeks and jaw had blistered, split and peeled, until the doctors stopped looking me in the eye. They said allergic reaction. They said contamination. They said unfortunate accident. Mara said nothing. She only lowered her eyes whenever someone looked at her, trembled beautifully, and let my mother hold her shoulder like she was the one who needed comfort. Poor Mara, my mother whispered while I lay there unable to move my mouth without tasting blood. She was the one who found you. She must be traumatized. Traumatized. The word slid through my skull like a rusted needle. Mara had found me because she had waited outside the bathroom door, listening as my skin began to burn. She had heard the first gasp, then the second, then the sound of my knees hitting tile. I remembered her shadow under the door. I remembered begging for help with my lips swelling and my eyes streaming blind tears. I remembered her voice, sweet as spoiled milk. You always thought you were prettier than me, Lila. Then she waited a little longer, long enough for my screams to shred into animal noises, long enough for the paste she had hidden in my night cream to devour the softest parts of my face. A heavy hair removal paste meant for dogs with matted coats and stubborn patches. Industrial, harsh, never meant for human skin, never meant for eyelids, cheeks, lips, or scalp. She had smeared it into my luxury cream because I had refused to lend her the jar after she mocked me for buying it. In my last life, that jar had been my small reward after months of work. A stupid, pretty thing with a pearl lid and a clean rose scent. I had saved for it, protected it, kept it on my vanity like proof that something in my life belonged to me alone. Mara had wanted it, so she took more than the cream. She took my face, then she took my life. The hospital room pulsed in pale pieces around me. Machines breathed beside my bed, tubes tugged at my arms. My father stood near the window, not looking at me. My younger sister strolled through her phone with a bored frown. My mother dabbed her eyes and complained to the doctor about the bills. Only Mara watched me. She had learned the art of pity well. Her lower lip trembled whenever the nurses entered. Her voice broke when she said my name. She even reached for my hand once, her fingers cold against mine, and squeezed hard enough to press her nails into my burned skin. The pain flashed white. My eyes widened. She leaned close, her perfume drowning the lilies. You should have shared, she whispered. No one heard. Or maybe they did, and chose not to. By then the story had already been written. I was vain, I was careless. I had probably bought some fake product online to make myself prettier. Mara was the loyal roommate who called emergency services. My family was burdened with my medical disaster. The internet had already found the photos she leaked. My bandaged face, my missing hair, my swollen mouth, my mother crying beside me. The captions were crueler than knives. Vanity punished. Beauty addict melted herself. Roommate tried to save her, and Mara, of course, became famous. Not openly at first. She played grief like a harp. She posted tearful videos about friendship, hidden danger and cosmetics, the importance of kindness. People praised her strength. Brands contacted her. Reporters requested interviews. My face became her staircase. Every time she climbed higher, I sank deeper into the bed. Infection came next, then fever. The smell beneath the bandages changed. No amount of lilies could hide it. My body became a place no one wanted to visit. Nurses moved quickly. My sister stopped coming. My father paid someone else to sit beside me at night. My mother asked whether the apartment deposit could be recovered if I died before the lease ended. Mara came every day. She came wearing my earrings, my sweaters, my watch. Once, she wore the blue silk scarf I had bought for my birthday and leaned over me so it brushed against my chest. You know, she murmured, your mother said I can keep your things. She thinks seeing them might help me grieve. My heart monitor ticked faster. She smiled. There you are, still jealous. I wanted to rip her throat open with my teeth. I wanted to crawl from the bed and drag her down with me. But my hands were strapped after the fever made me claw at my bandages. My mouth was cracked, my eyes could barely open, my whole body had become a cage made of pain. Mara bent closer, her pretty face hovering above my ruined one. "Do you know the funniest part?" she whispered. "Your cream was still mostly full. Such a waste. You should have let me use it from the start." A sound tore out of me, not even a scream, just a wet broken rasps. She laughed softly. Outside the window, rain tapped against the glass. Inside my chest, hatred stayed awake. It did not fade with the fever. It did not soften when the doctor stopped speaking in hopeful tones. It did not kneel when my mother signed papers without reading them. It only grew colder, sharper, cleaner. When the final night came, I knew before anyone told me. The room had become too quiet. No lilies this time. Mara had stopped buying flowers after her sympathy campaign gained enough attention. Only one wilted stem remained in a cloudy vase, its petals curled brown at the edges. The machines blinked. My lungs dragged air in shallow strips. My skin felt both frozen and on fire. Mara arrived late. She thought I was asleep. She sat beside me, crossed her legs, and opened a compact mirror. In the dim light, she touched up her lipstick. Deep red, the color of fresh wounds. My eyes moved toward her. She noticed. For a moment the mask slipped completely. There she was, not the crying friend, not the helpless witness, not the angel from all those interviews, just Mara. Small, hungry, slowly. "Still alive?" she asked. "You always were stubborn." My fingers twitched against the sheets. She leaned back and sighed. "Tomorrow they are filming the special segment. Your mother agreed to appear. She said people need to learn from your mistake." My mistake. The room tilted. My mistake had been trusting a woman who borrowed my clothes and hated the shape of my body in them. My mistake had been laughing off her little insults. My mistake had been ignoring the way her eyes darkened whenever someone complimented me. My mistake had been thinking envy was harmless if you fed it kindness. Mara stood and walked to the bedside table. She picked up the old cream jar. The police had returned it after testing. My mother kept it there like some cursed relic, proof of an accident she could blame on me. Mara twisted off the lid. The scent of roses floated out, faint beneath the chemical ghost still clinging to the glass. She dipped one finger in and showed me the white smear. "Such a shame," she said. "It really was expensive." Then she wiped it across the back of my limp hand. Fire bloomed instantly. My vision shattered. I tried to scream, but my throat closed around blood and air and nothing. Mara watched my body convulse under the sheets. Her eyes shone with pleasure so naked it was almost peaceful. "This is what happens, Lila," she whispered, "when ordinary girls forget their place." The monitor screamed. Footsteps thundered outside. Mara dropped the jar. I fell downward through sound, through pain, through the last gasps of my body. But before the darkness swallowed me, I made a promise so silent even death had to lean close to hear it. If there was another life, I would not beg. I would not warn. I would not expose her with trembling hands and hopeful tears. I would smile. I would step aside. I would place the blade she wanted into her own palm and watch her admire its shine before it cut through bone. The world snapped. Then light, warm light, golden morning light. I opened my eyes to the sound of someone knocking on my bedroom door. My first breath came too fast. My hand flew to my face, smooth cheek, eyebrows, lashes, hair spilling over my shoulders, heavy and soft. No bandages, no tubes, no rotten lilies. No hospital ceiling. My room, our apartment, the cheap curtains glowing with sun. My vanity stood against the wall. On it, beneath the oval mirror, sat the pearl-lidded jar of luxury skin cream, unopened, untouched. Beside it lay a plastic shopping bag from the pet supply store. Inside was the heavy hair removal paste I had bought yesterday in this life too, meant for the neglected rescue dog I volunteered to groom at the shelter. The same harsh paste Mara would later misunderstand and mix into my cream because cruelty made her careless. My calendar lay open on the desk. Today, the day everything began, the day Mara would ask to borrow my cream for her date. The day I refused, the day her smile first cracked, the day the path to my death opened under my feet. The knocking came again. "Lila?" Mara called through the door, syrup soft. "Are you awake? Can I come in for a second?" My fingers curled around the bed sheet. For one heartbeat the hospital room flashed over the morning. Her red lipstick, her whisper, the cream burning across my hand, the monitor screaming while she smiled. The old hatred rose so violently I almost laughed. But I did not rush to the door. I did not scream her name. I did not grab the jar and throw it at the wall. I sat up slowly. The girl in the mirror looked alive. Beautiful in the careless way I had once apologized for. Clear skin, dark hair, calm mouth, eyes too cold for morning. Mara knocked a third time. I looked at the pearl jar, then at the pet paste, then at my own reflection. My smile appeared before I felt it. Small, quiet, almost tender. "Come in," I said. The door opened. Mara stepped inside wearing my white cardigan. She had not asked to borrow it. Of course she had not. Her hair was curled, her cheeks were powdered. Her eyes swept over my vanity before pretending to find my face. That familiar hunger flickered there, quick and ugly, then disappeared behind a pout. "Lila," she said, clasping her hands, "you are literally a lifesaver. My skin is freaking out before dinner tonight, and you have that fancy cream, right? Just a little, please? I know you barely use half the stuff you buy." In my last life I had frowned. In my last life I had said no. In my last life, I had believed a boundary could protect me from a person who thought my existence was theft. This times, I looked at her borrowed cardigan, her practiced helplessness, her greedy glance at the jar. My heart became still. Behind my ribs, revenge unfolded like a black flower. I reached for the pearl-lidded cream and held it out. Mara blinked. "Really?" I smiled wider. "Of course," I said softly. "Take as much as you need." Her fingers closed around the jar. For a moment, triumph lit her face so brightly she forgot to hide it. "There you are, Mara." There was my murderer, alive and smooth-skinned, standing in my bedroom with both hands wrapped around the future she thought she had stolen. I lowered my eyes before she could see the grave I had already dug inside them. Use it well, I thought. Use every drop. This time I would not be the one screaming behind a locked bathroom door. This time I would not be the warning. I would be the silence outside the door, listening. And when the first scream came, I would remember the lilies. Mara cradled the pearl-lidded jar as if I had handed her a crown. For a breath she forgot to look fragile. Her eyes widened with pure shining hunger, the kind that did not belong on the face of a girl who always claimed she only needed a little help. Her fingers tightened around the glass. The cardigan slipping off her shoulder was mine, the shade of white I used to wear when I still believed softness could survive near poison. Then she remembered herself. Her mouth trembled into a grateful smile. "Lila, you are seriously the best. I knew you would understand. I mean, I was so stressed about tonight, and my skin has been awful lately. You know how important this dinner is for me." I did know. In my last life, she had told everyone it was just a casual dinner. Later, after my face became a headline and her tears became currency, I learned the truth. She was meeting Alaric Voss, the founder of a beauty media company that turned unknown girls into worshipped faces overnight. Mara had spent weeks trying to get near him. She had lied, flattered, stolen contacts, copped my style, and finally secured an invitation through a man she had been pretending to love. She wanted my cream because she wanted my glow. She wanted my skin because she hated that hers betrayed every sleepless night, every jealous thought, every spiteful hunger hidden beneath powder. In the old life I had denied her, so she had punished me. This time I watched her open the jar. The clean rose scent drifted between us. Mara dipped one finger into the untouched cream without asking, spreading it over the back of her hand. She closed her eyes and sighed dramatically, already imagining herself transformed. "It feels expensive," she whispered. That was the thing about Mara. She never simply wanted. She wanted while despising the person who had what she lacked. She wanted to wear my cardigan and complain that I bought too many clothes. She wanted to eat my groceries and mock my diet. She wanted to use my skincare and laugh at my vanity. She wanted everything from my life, but she wanted me humiliated for owning it first. I sat on the edge of my bed and folded my hands in my lap. "Keep it," I said. Her eyes snapped open. "What?" "Keep it," I repeated, my voice gentle enough to pass for kindness. "I barely need it." "You said tonight matters." The lie came out smooth. In her face suspicion flared for a second, thin and sharp, then greed smothered it. People like Mara never distrusted gifts for long. Their hunger always found a way to call theft destiny. "Are you sure?" she asked, already pulling the jar closer to her chest. "Of course." She lowered her eyes as if overwhelmed. "That means so much. Honestly, I was scared you would make me feel bad for asking." I almost laughed. In my last life she had made me feel bad for bleeding. "You are my roommate," I said. "We should share." The word share landed between us with a small, invisible click. Mara smiled. She did not know I had just loaded the trap and placed her hand on the trigger. She turned toward the vanity, where the plastic pet supply bag still rested beside my brush and perfume. Her gaze paused on it. "What is that?" I glanced over, letting my expression remain empty. "Something for the shelter dog. The groomer said it helps with severely matted fur. It is dangerous if misused, so I need to take it back this afternoon." Mara looked at the bag, then at the cream in her hands. In the old life I had left those two objects too close together. I had been careless because I was innocent. Mara had not been. She had seen the label, understood enough to know it was harsh, and used it anyway. She had not mistaken it for skincare. That was the sweet lie everyone swallowed afterward. This time, I gave her the idea before she could steal it from the room. "Dangerous?" she asked. "Very," I said softly. "It can burn if it touches human skin. It is made to strip stubborn hair from animals. The shelter warned me twice." Her pupils tightened. A careful person would have stepped away. Mara leaned closer. "That sounds horrible." "It is," I said. that is why I keep it sealed. I reached for the bag, took out the tube, and let the warning label face her for one perfect second. No numbers. No instructions she could claim not to have seen. Just symbols, bold black letters, and a promise of consequences. Then I placed it back into the bag and tucked it into the bottom drawer. The drawer did not lock. I wanted her to know that. Mara's gaze followed my hand. I looked at her and smiled with all the warmth of candlelight over a coffin. You should get ready, I said. Dinner is soon. Her lips parted. She wanted to ask. She wanted the drawer open again. But greed likes privacy. Malice prefers no witnesses, so she hugged the cream jar and drifted toward the door. You are being so nice today, she said. I tilted my head. Should I not be? Her laugh came too quickly. No, it is just you are usually so protective of your things. My things. My face, my life, my breath. Protective had not saved them, so I said maybe I changed. Mara studied me for another second, then she left. The door clicked shut behind her. Only when her footsteps faded down the hall did I stand. My knees did not shake. My hands did not tremble. The room was the same as it had been in my first life, but I was not the girl who had died there. That girl had believed fairness was a door that opened if you knocked politely enough. She had believed people who smiled could be reasoned with. She had believed family meant protection, witnesses meant truth, and suffering meant someone would eventually care. That girl was buried beneath hospital sheets and rotten lilies. I opened the bottom drawer. The tube of pet hair removal paste lay inside, unopened. I did not touch it. Instead, I removed the small hidden camera I had bought in the old life to record recipe videos for a channel I never had the courage to start. It was still tucked in its box beneath a stack of scarves. My fingers found it without hesitation, guided by memories sharper than sight. I set it facing the vanity, then I placed another near the hallway shelf, another inside the kitchen, angled toward the counter where Mara always mixed masks, serums, and stolen samples into little ceramic bowls. In my last life there had been no proof. This time proof would breathe before she did. I moved quietly through the apartment, rearranging nothing too obvious. Mara knew my habits. She knew where I kept things because she had studied me with the devotion of a parasite. If anything changed too much, she might hesitate, so I let the drawer remain unlocked. I let the pet supply bag show just enough white plastic. I left the cream jar in her possession, and then I began removing myself from the blast. By afternoon, my name was already leaving the lease. I walked to the management office with a calm face and a folder of documents, prepared in another life by a version of me who had once tried to escape too late. I told the landlord I had family matters. I paid the penalty from the savings I had once planned to spend on a certification course. The woman behind the desk barely looked up as she stamped the papers. A soft red mark on white paper, freedom, disguised as administration. I went to the bank next, closed the joint emergency expense account Mara had convinced me to open for household bills, transferred every cent of my own money into a new account she did not know existed, changed passwords, froze cards, removed her from delivery apps, logged out of every shared device, small doors closing. One after another, quiet clicks in the dark. By the time the sky turned gray, I had sold the gold bracelet my mother gave me after borrowing twice its worth and never paying me back. The pawnshop owner weighed it without sentiment. I watched the bracelet swing in his hand and felt nothing. Blood relatives had once stood beside my hospital bed and found a way to pity my murderer. Gold was easier to abandon. With the cash, I rented a small studio across town under a short-term agreement. It was above a closed bakery, narrow and old, with thick walls and a fire escape behind the kitchen window. It smelled faintly of yeast and rain. To me it smelled like a fortress. I bought clean sheets, a bolt for the door, a small safe, a second phone, pepper spray legal for personal safety, medical supplies, gloves, a lockbox for evidence, a cheap laptop bought with cash, and from a discount store 3 glass jars of ordinary moisturizers, the kind with no pearl lid, no luxury scent, nothing Mara would ever envy. I placed them in my new bathroom cabinet and looked at my reflection, still whole, still mine. The relief was not soft. Savage. Back at the apartment, Mara was in the bathroom with music playing. Steam breathed under the door. My cream jar sat open on the sink. The pet paste was gone from the drawer. I paused in the hallway. There it was, the first footprint in fresh snow. I did not open the bathroom door. I did not ask what she was doing. I did not ruin the little private stage she had built for her own cruelty. Instead, I walked to the kitchen. On the hidden camera feed from my phone, Mara appeared in pale bathroom light, wrapped in a towel, her hair clipped away from her face. The pearl jar was beside her. The tube of animal hair removal paste lay uncapped on the counter. She looked at herself in the mirror, then she smiled, not nervous, not confused, not mistaken. She squeezed a thick stripe of the paste into the cream jar and stirred with one of my cosmetic spatulas, slowly, carefully, like a woman seasoning poison. I felt my old death breathe behind my shoulder. The hospital, the fire, the lilies, her whisper, you should have shared. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I did not stop recording. Mara mixed until the cream looked smooth again. She wiped the tube clean. She tucked it under the sink behind cleaning supplies. Then, with a little satisfied hum, she dabbed the poisoned cream onto her own fingertip. I leaned against the kitchen counter. Interesting. In the old life, she had prepared it for me. This time, because I had given her the jar, because she believed the cream was hers now, because greed always eats faster than hatred can think, she had forgotten which face she wanted to ruin first. She spread it along her cheek, then her other cheek, across her jaw, under her brows, a little at the hairline, smoothing baby hairs she had always hated because mine lay naturally flat. She admired herself. The clock ticked. In the kitchen, I poured a glass of water and drank slowly. The first sound came as a small inhale, then another. Mara leaned closer to the mirror. Her fingers touched her cheek. The camera caught her frown. She whispered something I could not hear. Then she rubbed harder. A mistake. The paste entered deeper. Her mouth opened. The scream did not arrive all at once. It climbed out of her in pieces. First disbelief, then panic, then pain sharpening enough to tear vanity away. She burst from the bathroom, face blotching red, eyes streaming, towel half slipping. "Lila!" I turned as if startled. "What happened?" "It burns. It burns. Oh my god, my face is burning." She clawed at her cheeks. I stepped forward and caught her wrists before her nails could do too much damage. "Do not touch it," I said. My voice was too calm. She did not notice. "What did you do?" She shrieked. There it was, the accusation rising before explanation. I looked at the open jar in her hand. "My cream?" I asked. "Mara, I gave that to you sealed." Her pupils shook. For a second, through pain and terror, she remembered the tube under the sink. She remembered the camera she did not know existed. She remembered nothing could be admitted. "I did not do anything," she sobbed. "It must be your stupid product. It must be fake." Her skin reddened under the bathroom light. Her hairline looked damp where the paste had touched. A few delicate strands clung to her fingers. In my chest, something cold and ancient smiled. I guided her toward the sink. "Rinse with water," I said. "We need emergency help." "No," she snapped, then caught herself. "I mean, yes, call someone, but do not tell them anything weird. Just say it was cream. Just say it was your cream, my cream." Even now, even with her own trap eating her face, she reached for my throat. I turned my phone face down on the counter, still recording audio. "Of course," I said softly. Her eyes were wild with tears. "Promise me, Lila. You have to promise. You gave it to me. You have to say you gave it to me." I watched water run over her cheeks, carrying foam, cream and panic down the drain. "I did give it to you," I said, unopened. Her breathing hitched. The truth moved between us like a blade drawn halfway from its sheath. She understood then that something was wrong, not with her skin, with me. She stared at my face, searching for the old Lila, the girl who would rush, apologize, take blame, call doctors, call mothers, call anyone to rescue the person who had just bitten her. She found only stillness. "Lila," she whispered. I smiled. Mara looked afraid. It was beautiful. The emergency clinic smelled nothing like my hospital room. Memory painted lilies over everything. Mara sat curled in a plastic chair, face flushed and treated, hair wrapped in a towel after the nurse washed the chemical residue from her scalp. The injury was painful, ugly, humiliating, but not fatal. I had called in time. I had made sure she would live. Revenge needed witnesses. It needed a stage. It needed Mara standing when the curtain fell. The doctor asked questions. Mara lied. She cried. She said she had used a cream I gave her. She did not know why this happened. She implied I might have bought a dangerous counterfeit product. She even reached for my hand once, as if we were tragic sisters trapped in misunderstanding. I let her fingers touch mine, then I gently pulled away. "I have the sealed packaging receipt," I said. "And the jar was fine when I handed it over." Mara's head jerked toward me. The doctor paused. "Also," I added, "there was an animal grooming product missing from my drawer when I came home." Mara's lips went pale beneath the ointment. I did not accuse her. Accusations could be denied. I only placed facts on the table and let them rot in front of her. The clinic documented everything. The nurse wrote notes. The doctor asked whether we wanted to file a report. Mara refused too quickly. I said I wanted a copy of the medical record for safety. On the ride home, she sat rigid in the passenger seat of the rideshare, hood pulled low, sunglasses hiding the swelling around her eyes, though it was already night. "You planned this," she whispered. I looked out the window at the city lights sliding across the glass. "Planned what?" "You knew." I turned to her. "Knew what, Mara?" Her jaw trembled. She could not say it. If she said I knew she would poison the cream, she would have to admit she had poisoned it. So she swallowed the words until they scraped her throat bloody. "You are sick," she hissed. I smiled faintly. Maybe I changed. The next I was gone before she woke, not fled, removed. Everything important had already been packed. My documents, valuables, clothes, electronics, backups, and evidence safely in the studio above the bakery. I left behind what I wanted her to see. A clean bed, an empty vanity, and the plastic pet supply bag placed neatly on her desk. Inside it was not the paste. That was already in the evidence lockbox, sealed with gloves and dated notes. Inside the bag was a printed photo from the hidden camera. Mara standing at the bathroom counter. Mara squeezing the paste into the cream. Mara smiling. On the back I wrote one sentence by hand. You should have shared the truth. By noon, she called me more times than I cared to count. I did not answer. She texted first with rage, then threats, then pleading. She said she would ruin me. She said no one would believe me. She said my family already knew I was unstable. She said she would tell the landlord I had attacked her. She said she would sue. She said she was sorry. She said she was in pain. She said we were friends. I forwarded nothing yet, not to police, not to the landlord, not to Alaric Voss, whose assistant had already confirmed Mara missed the dinner after sending a frantic message about a beauty emergency. I waited. The old Lila had reacted too late. The new Lila understood timing. Before sunset, Mara did exactly what I knew she would do. She posted a soft focus video, dim lighting, trembling voice, hood pulled around her face. She spoke of betrayal, unsafe products, a roommate who had given her a luxury cream that caused a terrible reaction. She did not name me, but she showed enough of our apartment, enough of my vanity, enough of the pearl jar for people to understand. Comments bloomed beneath her pain like mold. Poor girl. Sue her. Some women are so jealous. Imagine poisoning your roommate over beauty. I watched from my studio with a bowl of swarming my hands. Rain tapped the bakery windows. My new lock gleamed on the door. My evidence files were backed up in 3 places. Mara thought she had lit a match under my life. She did not know she was standing inside a room full of gas. I waited until her video spread. Until sympathy swelled. Until Alaric Voss commented publicly, asking if she was safe. Until my mother called and left a voicemail accusing me of embarrassing the family again. That word almost made me close my eyes. Instead, I opened my laptop. The footage was clear, the angle perfect. Mara entering my room, Mara watching me put the pet paste in the drawer, Mara later opening that drawer when I was gone, Mara carrying the tube to the bathroom, Mara mixing it into the cream, Mara applying it to herself, Mara screaming, Mara demanding I say it was my cream. I edited nothing but sunk gaps. Then I scheduled the release, not immediately, at dawn. People wake hungry for scandal. By breakfast, they would have blood with their coffee. Until then, I reinforced my quiet kingdom. I arranged a legal consultation, filed a preliminary statement with timestamp, uploaded copies to private cloud storage, sent the clinic record request, purchased renter's insurance for the studio, changed my mailing address, blocked my family after saving their voicemails. Every action was small, every action was a brick. By midnight I sat on the studio floor surrounded by order, canned food stacked in the lower cabinet, water bottles lined beneath the sink, a first aid kit beneath the bed, cash in the safe, new phone charging beside me, my old phone recording Mara's threats as they continued to arrive. Outside the city sounded distant. No one could walk in without my permission. No one could take my cardigan, my cream, my money, my story, my face. For the first time since waking, I touched my cheek and felt the warmth of living skin without fear. Mara had wanted the cream, so I gave it to her. She had wanted my place, so I left her the apartment. She had wanted the spotlight, so I built her a stage, and beneath that stage, quietly, lovingly, I had packed enough powder to turn her first bow into an explosion. At dawn the video went live. I did not add music, I did not cry, I did not beg anyone to believe me. I only titled it with the truth and let the world watch Mara season her own punishment by hand. The first comment appeared before my tea finished steeping, then another, then hundreds. The same mouths that had pitied her opened again, this time to devour. Mara called once, twice, then again and again until her name on my screen looked less like a person and more like a warning label. I finally answered. For a moment there was only her breathing, ragged, wet, furious. Take it down, she whispered. I looked at the gray morning beyond my window. No. Lila, please, I can explain. You already did, I said on camera. She began to sob then, ugly and real, not the polished sob she saved for strangers. I felt nothing, not joy yet. Joy would come later, when the trap closed fully. For now there was only calm, a deep clean calm like a blade washed under cold water. Mara cried my name. I remembered the hospital, the lilies, the red lipstick, her finger dragging fire across my dying hand. My voice, when it came, was almost kind. Get some rest, Mar, your skin will need it. Then I ended the call. The sun rose over the bakery roof. In my studio, everything was quiet. In the apartment across town, Mara's borrowed world had begun to peel. By noon, Mara was famous for the sasankantum. Not the soft, tragic kind of famous she had tried to purchase with tears and a swollen face. Not the angelic victimhood she had wrapped around herself like my stolen cardigan. This was sharper, hungrier, the kind of attention that did not kneel at her feet but circled overhead with black wings, waiting for the body to stop twitching. Her video disappeared first, then reappeared, through stitches, reactions, trots, mirrors, slow-motion edits, cruel captions, forensic breakdowns and strangers with cold voices explaining what their eyes had seen. Mara opening my drawer, Mara taking the tube, stirring the paste into the cream, Mara smiling before applying it to her own skin. The internet loved a wounded girl. It loved a liar even more when the mask came off in high definition. I watched it happen from my studio above the bakery. Rain had stopped. Pale sunlight pressed through the old window, turning the dust in the air into drifting gold. Below me, delivery trucks rattled over the street. Somewhere in the closed bakery, the pipe sighed. My tea cooled beside my laptop while Mara's carefully built life began to blister. She had wanted sympathy. She received analysis. She had wanted outrage. She received investigation. She had wanted my name dragged through the mud. Instead, strangers began digging beneath hers. The first thread was small. Someone found an old post from a classmate describing Mara as a girl who borrowed dresses and returned them stained, then cried until the owner apologized. Another person remembered a fundraiser she had started for a fake emergency. Then came screenshots from former friends, ex-boyfriends, beauty groups, apartment chats, blocked numbers, deleted comments, whispered stories finally given a place to breathe. Mara had not become cruel overnight. She had practiced. She had stolen perfumes and called them gifts. Broken pallets and blamed pets, spread rumors, copied essays, cried in doorways, borrowed money, faked illness, faked poverty, faked innocence with the patience of a spider repairing its web after every storm. By afternoon, Alaric Voss had removed his public comment. By evening, his company released statements so polished it smelled of fear. They expressed concern, promised internal review, and distanced themselves from any planned collaboration that had never been officially confirmed. The words were bland, the meaning was snot. Mara's golden dinner had vanished. Her ladder had been kicked away before she placed her second foot on it. I refreshed nothing. I did not need to. Her collapse arrived by itself, message by message. First came rage, you ruined me, then denial. That video is fake and you know it, then bargaining, take it down and I will it was a misunderstanding, then threats. My parents know people. My lawyer will destroy you. You think you are safe? Then silence, not peace. Silence is only the sound a trapped animal makes when it begins chewing through its own leg. At night, my mother called from a number I had not blocked yet. I let it ring until voicemail took her. Lila, her voice began, tight and embarrassed. What is wrong with you? Do you understand what people are saying? Your father's coworkers saw this. Your sister's friends are laughing. Mara is hurt. Yes, maybe she made a mistake. Did you have to make everything public? Family matters should be handled quietly. Family. The word landed on the floor of my studio and died there. Mara was not family, but my mother had always known how to adopt anyone willing to help her punish me. She continued, softer now, the voice she used when she wanted my guilt to crawl home on its belly. You have always been difficult, always dramatic. You hold grudges, you make people uncomfortable. Maybe if you were kinder, things would not go this far. In my last life, that voice had followed me into the hospital. It had floated above my bed, complaining about bills and shame while my skin rotted under white cloth. It had defended Mara's grief because Mara cried prettily, while my pain had been inconvenient and ugly. I saved the voicemail, then blocked the number. The next morning, my sister posted something vague about toxic people using victimhood for attention. She did not name me. She did not need to. Under it, Mara left a broken heart. I took a screenshot. Evidence did not need to be dramatic, it only needed to be complete. Across town, the apartment began eating them alive. Mara could not leave without being recognized. Her face, swollen and red in uneven patches, became a symbol before it healed. Some mocked her injury, some condemned the cruelty. Others claimed she deserved worse. All of them looked. That was the real punishment for a woman like Mara. Not pain, attention without worship. Visibility without control. Her reflection had turned into a public courtroom. She tried covering her cheeks with scarves, then masks, then heavy makeup that irritated the damaged skin until she had to wash it off in tears. Her hairline, where the paste had touched, thinned in small uneven spots. Nothing permanent, the clinic said. Nothing catastrophic, enough to wound vanity, enough to make every mirror sharp. She missed work twice. Then the boutique salon where she had been a receptionist placed her on unpaid leave after customers began calling. She accused them of discrimination. They sent her the viral video and reminded her she had represented a beauty business while tampering with skin products. By the end of the week, she was unemployed. The landlord called me once, voice cautious. I told him I had already removed myself from the lease and sent copies of the documents. He sighed with the exhaustion of a man who had discovered a storm leaving one of his cottage assets. Mara had fallen behind on her share of rent immediately. Utilities, which she thought my account still covered, failed one by one after their billing cycles ended. First the streaming services, then internet, then electricity warning notices, then the final demand for rent. The apartment had once been her stage, my vanity, my kitchen tools, my groceries, my towels, my calm presence absorbing the consequences of her chaos. Without me, it became what it had always been under the borrowed decorations, a box. A rented box full of unpaid bills, spoiled food, chemical stains, and a girl whose mask no longer fit over her swelling. She called my father next day. Knew because he called me. His voice carried the heavy disappointment he reserved for moments when I refused to be useful. Lila, we need to talk. No greeting, no concern, no apology for the life in which he had watched me die like an expensive inconvenience. I listened. Mara says you are trying to destroy her. Your mother is very upset. This has become humiliating. You need to settle it privately. Send a statement saying emotions were high and you both made mistakes. We both. I looked around my studio, at the bolt on the door, at the safe beneath the desk, at the neat folder of saved voicemails and threats. What mistake did I make? I asked. He exhaled as if I had tired him. Do not play word games. You gave her the cream, unopened. You posted the video of her actions. You are enjoying this. There it was, the only truth he could see. I smiled toward the window. Yes, I said. Silence. His voice dropped. That is a cruel thing to admit. I thought of my old hospital bed, of Mara wiping poison onto my hand while machines screamed, of my father near the window, checking messages and refusing to look at what was left of my face. Cruelty, I said, is teaching someone that pain is only serious when it embarrasses you. He said my name sharply. I ended the call. By then my family's loyalty had chosen its grave, and I had no desire to stand near the hole. Mara meanwhile decided that if she could not regain sympathy, she would manufacture terror. She filed a complaint claiming I had set her up. The officers who contacted me sounded bored until I provided footage, receipts, clinic records, messages, voicemails, lease documents, and the sealed tube recovered from my apartment bathroom after I asked the landlord for supervised access to collect remaining property. The tube still bore her fingerprints. The cosmetic spatula, sealed in a bag, had residue matching both the cream and the animal paste. I gave them everything, not with tears, not with shaking hands. With dates written in words, times described cleanly, and copies arranged in order. The officer reviewing it looked at me longer than necessary. You were prepared, she said. I met her eyes. I had reason to be. She did not ask more. People respect pain when it arrives organized. Mara's complaint curled back on her like smoke in a closed room. Then came the civil notice from the cream company. Her public accusation had named their product without proof. Their lawyers were faster than karma and less forgiving. She had implied their luxury cream caused chemical burns. She had shown their jar. She had used their brand's reputation as a shield for her lie. The letter demanded retraction. The amount demanded for damages made her rent look like pocket change. Mara posted again, this time no soft lighting, no graceful trembling, just her in the apartment bathroom, hair pulled back, face blotched under ointment, eyes swollen from real crying. She said she was scared. She said everyone had misunderstood. She said she never meant to hurt anyone. She said the internet had ruined her life. She did not say my name. She did not say sorry. The comments did what hungry things do. They tore. I made soup that night. Carrot, ginger, chicken broth, slow heat. Steam curled up beneath my face, warm and clean. I ate while watching security footage from the small camera outside my studio door. Empty hallway, quiet stairs, no Mara. No mother, no sister, no one pounding, pleading, demanding entry because blood or history or pity entitled them to my skin. Safety was not soft either. Safety had teeth. It was a locked door, a full cabinet, a bank account no one else could touch, a story told before someone else could bury it. Days passed. Mara's fall became less viral and more personal. That was when pain ripened. Public shame burns bright, but private consequences sink deeper. Brands ignored her. Friends stopped answering. The man who had taken her to the almost dinner denied ever knowing her well. Former roommate came forward. Her parents, who had once bragged about the beautiful daughter's rising media presence, arrived at the apartment only after debt notices began reaching them. I saw them through footage from the landlord's hallway camera, which he provided after Mara accused me of harassment again. Her mother came first. A narrow woman with painted lips and a handbag held like a weapon. Her father followed, broad and red-faced, already angry before the door opened. Mara let them in wearing a hood. The shouting began quickly enough that neighbors recorded it. Her mother called her stupid. Her father called her expensive. Mara screamed that they were supposed to help her. Her mother said they had already helped enough, that all her life Mara had made messes, and expected other people to mop the floor with their own hair. Her father demanded to know whether the lawsuit was real. Sarah sobbed that it was not fair, that I had trapped her, that I had always looked down on her. There it was again, the old song of envy. I had looked down on her by owning my own cream, by having my own face, by breathing without asking her permission. The argument spread. Bills were thrown, the pearl jar, empty and useless, shattered against a wall. Mara's father stormed out. Her mother stayed long enough to tell her that if she wanted to act like a victim, she could suffer like one. No one hugged her, no one stroked her hair, no one called her poor Mara. I watched only once, then saved the file. The next day, Mara's sister messaged me. I expected insults. Instead, she wrote only one sentence. She did this to me too, but no one believed me. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I replied with the contact of the officer handling the report. Revenge was not mercy, but truth had a way of finding bones buried under the same house. By the following week, Mara's phone was disconnected. The apartment door carried a warning notice. Her employer confirmed termination. Her parents refused payment. The cream company escalated. The animal product manufacturer also sent a warning. After people began dragging their name into the scandal, they clarified that their paste was clearly labeled, not for human use, and dangerous outside professional grooming settings. The statement circled widely, and every repost placed Mara's foolishness on another hook. The more she tried to pull free, the deeper it pierced. At last, she came to my studio. I knew before she knocked. The hallway camera caught her climbing the stairs slowly, one hand gripping the rail, hood pulled low, a medical mask over half her face. She looked smaller without stolen clothes. The expensive softness had left her. Her coat was wrinkled. Her hair, uneven at the temple, had been hidden beneath a scarf. In one hand she clutched a folded paper. In the other, my old blue silk scarf, the scarf she had worn beside my deathbed in another life. My fingers went still over the laptop. Memory opened its mouth, rain against hospital glass. Red lipstick, such a shame, it really was expensive. I stood and walked to the door. I did not open it. Mara knocked once, twice, then she whispered Lila. The sound of my name in her mouth still had teeth. I pressed the intercom. Why are you here? Her head lifted toward the camera. For a moment she tried to assemble her old face, the soft eyes, the trembling mouth, the wounded tilt of the chin, but the skin beneath the mask was still healing, and her exhaustion had made her ugly in a way no cream could polish. Please, she said, let me in. No, I just want to talk. Talk there. Her fingers tightened around the scarf. I have nowhere else to go. The sentence hung in the hallway like bait. In my last life, I had nowhere else to go either. My family had chosen convenience. My body had become unbearable. My name had been turned into a cautionary joke. And Mara had leaned over me with lipstick bright as a fresh cut. I said nothing. She swallowed. The lawyers are killing me. My parents will not pay. The lyrics company blocked me. The salon fired me. People send me messages all day. I cannot sleep. I cannot look at myself. I cannot even buy groceries without someone taking a picture. Her voice cracked. A performance? Maybe. But pain had entered it now. Real pain, and that made it less pretty. You have evidence, she whispered. You can tell them it was not that bad. You can tell them we talked. You can ask them to stop. Please, Lila. You won. The word was too small. Winning was a game. This was accounting. I looked at her through the screen. Do you remember what you said after you mixed the paste? She flinched. I was panicking. Before that. Silence. You smiled, I said. Then you put it on your own face. She began to cry. I did not know it would be that bad. I leaned closer to the intercom. You knew enough to hide the tube. Her sob caught. You knew enough to blame me before the doctor asked. You knew enough to post a video. You knew enough to call my family. You knew enough to try to bury me. She shook her head hard. No, I was scared. I was scared, Lila. You do not understand what it feels like when everyone hates you. For a moment the hospital room returned so vividly that the studio wall seemed to dissolve. My ruined mouth, my mother's whisper, the internet laughing. Mara in my earrings, my father not looking, my hand burning under her final touch. I smiled. I understand better than you think. Mara stared at the camera. Something in my voice reached her at last. Not the truth of rebirth, not the impossible memory breathing behind my eyes, but the certainty that I had already walked through a version of hell she could not imagine, and had brought back its map. She lowered herself slowly to her knees. The hallway camera captured it perfectly. Please, she whispered. The old Mara would have hated that posture. The old Mara needed to stand above others, even while pretending to fall. But now the world had stripped her pride down to the bone. Please help me. I let the silence stretch. Below, a truck passed. The old bakery pipes knocked. Somewhere in the building, water ran through hidden walls. Then I asked, why should I? Because we were friends. No, because I am sorry. No, because I am suffering. I tilted my head. And suffering makes you innocent? Her mouth trembled behind the mask. I made a mistake. A mistake is using salt instead of sugar, I said. You used chemicals instead of honesty. She bent forward until her forehead nearly touched the floor. I will do anything. There, the phrase I had been waiting for, not because I wanted anything from her, I wanted nothing infected by Mara's hands, but I needed to hear the sound of her pride breaking fully, not cracking for sympathy, not bending for advantage, breaking. I opened the door chain but kept the bolt locked. A narrow gap appeared. Mara looked up with sudden hope. That hope almost glowed, disgusting. I slid a printed document through the gap. Confession, I said. Her eyes dropped to the pages. A complete written statement that you took the animal paste from my drawer, mixed it into the cream, applied it to yourself, falsely accused me, and posted misleading claims. That you contacted my family to pressure me, that you filed a false complaint, that you acted alone. Her hands shook. If I signed this, she whispered, you will help me? No, her face emptied. Then why would I sign? I looked down at her through the narrow opening. Because the truth is the only thing you have left that is not already rotten. Her hope died so visibly it was almost gentle. She clutched the paper. You are cruel. I remembered her nail pressing into my burned hand. Yes. She stared. I did not soften. I learned from someone talented. Her eyes filled again, but this time the tears did not fall. They sat there useless and bright. Behind her, the hallway light flickered. For a strange second she looked exactly like the girl from my first life, the one standing at the foot of my hospital bed with lilies and borrowed grief. Only now there were no flowers, no cameras, no family hands on her shoulder, only concrete stairs. Bad lighting, a confession in her lap, and me behind a locked door. She stood slowly. I thought she would tear the pages. Instead she folded them and tucked them into her coat. You will regret this, she said. The words were weak, habit more than threat. I closed the door. No, I said through the wood. I already did that in another life. She did not understand. That was fine. Understanding was not required for punishment to work. That night, Mara sent the signed confession, not because conscience had awakened, because the lawyer letter frightened her more than pride comforted her, because the police report had teeth, because her parents refused to be dragged into court, because Alaric's company had hinted that cooperation might matter, because every bridge behind her had burned, and the only road forward was made of broken glass. I forwarded the confession to my attorney, then to the officer, then to the cream company's legal contact. Not to save Mara, to make the record clean. Consequences shifted after that. The storm became official. Investigations opened. Demands sharpened. Retractions were required. Her public apology appeared 2 days later, stiff and bloodless, likely written by someone who disliked her. She admitted to tampering with the cream. She admitted to misleading viewers. She apologized to the brand, the clinic, the public, and finally, at the very end to me. My name looked strange in her apology, like stolen jewelry dropped into mud. The comments did not forgive her, neither did I. Winter arrived early that year. Not real winter, not in the city's bones, but a wet gray season that made everything smell of damp concrete and old mistakes. Mara left the apartment after eviction proceedings began. No one knew where she went at first. Then I learned through a former neighbor that she had moved into a cramped back room above her aunt's laundry shop, working nights off the books because no beauty-facing business would hire her. A room with no vanity, no soft lighting, no audience, no one to borrow from except people who already knew to hide their belongings. My family tried contacting me twice more. My mother sent a long message about forgiveness and appearances. My sister sent a laughing sticker by accident or cruelty, then deleted it. My father sent nothing after I emailed him copies of every voicemail where he pressured me to lie. Silence bloomed. This time I watered it. My life grew in the quiet. I finished a certification course with money I protected. I took remote work. I built a careful channel about cosmetics safety, product tampering, and documentation without ever turning my pain into begging. People listened because I did not dramatize. I did not sob. I laid out facts like clean instruments on a steel tray. Brands contacted me, small at first, then larger. I accepted only those with strict safety records and contracts reviewed twice. Every agreement went into the safe. Every payment went into my account. Every gift was photographed before opening. Every product stored behind locks. Trust, I had learned, was not a feeling, it was a system. Months after the first video, Mara appeared again, not online, outside the studio. Thinner, paler, face mostly healed, though faint uneven patches remained near her jaw when the light hit wrong. Her hair had grown back enough to hide the missing places, but she had cut it short in jagged layers. Without the curtain of beauty she once used to soften every room, her features looked sharper. Meaner, older. This time she was not alone. My mother stood beside her, and my sister. My father remained at the bottom of the stairs, arms crossed, face carved from reluctant embarrassment. I watched them through the hallway camera. For several seconds I simply stared. There they were, the family who had comforted my murderer over my hospital bed in the first life. The family who had blamed my pain for being inconvenient in this one, standing outside my locked door because Mara, finally broken enough to be useful to their guilt, had led them to me. My mother knocked. Lila, open the door. Same command. Different room. I pressed the intercom. No, her face tightened. Do not be childish. We came all this way. I did not ask you to. Mara kept her eyes on the floor. My sister looked annoyed but nervous. She had lost followers after defending Mara too openly. People had found her vague post. The internet, having tasted one liar, had sniffed out adjacent cowardice. My father climbed the last steps. We need to settle this, he said. Settle what? This feud. I almost smiled. Feud made it sound equal. Two sides trading blows under a shared sky. Not Mara holding poison. Not my family holding silence. Not me building a wall from the bones of what they did not protect. My mother stepped closer to the camera. Mara has suffered enough. Look at her. She lost everything. Her parents barely speak to her. She has his health bills. People still harass her. You made your point. Mara's shoulders shook. Whether from shame or strategy, I no longer cared. My sister muttered. Everyone thinks we are monsters because of you, because of me. The old rage did not flare. It had matured into something far more useful. Precision. I unlocked the inner recording app and saved a new file. Then I spoke. Did Mara tell you what she did? My mother sighed. She made a terrible mistake. Did she tell you she mixed the paste herself? We know. Did she tell you she tried to blame me? People panic. Did she tell you she filed a false complaint? My father's jaw shifted. That was handled. Did she tell you she pressured me to lie? My mother snapped. Enough. Why do you always need to dig into every wound? Because some wounds contain evidence, I said. Silence. Mara finally looked at the camera. Please, she whispered. I told them I was sorry. No, I said. You told them you were punished. Her face crumpled. My mother's patience broke. What do you want from her? Blood? Do you want her dead? Would that satisfy you? Questions slid under my skin and found an old room, a bed, a monitor, a wilted lily, my own dying breath. Would that satisfy you? I leaned toward the intercom. Death would be too simple for Mara. Everyone froze. The hallway seemed to hold its breath. I continued softly. Death lets people become stories, martyrs' warnings, misunderstood girls with flowers at their funerals. I want Mara alive. I want her to wake up every morning and remember exactly what she did before anyone else gets a chance to forget. Mara made a small sound. My sister whispered, You are insane. I smiled. No, I am documented. My father stepped forward. Open this door right now. There he was at last. The man who never moved quickly for my pain, finding his strength for my disobedience. I did not move. Leave, I said. We are your family. You are people I survive. My mother flinched as if I had slapped her. Good. My voice remained calm. You chose Mara when her tears were useful. You chose shame over truth. You chose appearances over my safety. Now you can keep choosing each other outside my door. Mara began crying harder. My mother reached for her automatically. The sight was almost funny. Even now, even ruined, Mara still collected comfort meant for me. I opened the door only as far as the chain allowed. They all looked up. Hope, anger, entitlement, fear, a family portrait. I held out a small envelope. My mother reached for it. Inside I said, are copies of your voicemails, screenshots, and a cease contact notice. Any further harassment goes to my attorney. My father's face darkened. You would do that to your own parents? I looked at him. You taught me blood does not guarantee mercy. He had no answer, stared through the gap at my face, whole, untouched. For the first time, I saw the full shape of her hatred without disguise, not because I had hurt her, because I had survived beautifully enough for her pain to look deserved. I lowered my voice. Do you remember the lilies, Mara? Her brows drew together. What? Of course she did not. Not in this life. Her hand drifted toward her scarf, confused. I smiled. Never mind. Then I closed the door. Their voices rose outside, muffled by wooden locks. My mother cried. My sister cursed. My father threatened consequences he no longer had the power to deliver. Mara said nothing for a long time. Then footsteps. One by one they descended. The hallway emptied. The camera showed only flickering light and the closed stairwell door. In the quiet after they left, I poured myself red wine. The glass caught the glow from my desk lamp, deep and dark, almost black at the center. I carried it to the window and watched rain begin again over the city. Somewhere out there, Mara still breathed. Somewhere, my family swallowed the bitter taste of not being obeyed. Somewhere, the story they wanted buried continued to live in files, statements, videos, and the memories of everyone who had watched the truth bloom from the wound they tried to call drama. I took a slow sip. The wine was dry. Perfect. The phone buzzed once. Message from an unknown number. Mara. It was only one line. I hope you are happy. I looked at it for a long moment, then typed back, not yet, because this was only the beginning of the ending. The real ruin was not the viral video, nor the lost job, nor the lawsuits, nor the apartment, nor the public apology. Those were flames licking at the curtains. The foundation had only just begun to crack. Mara had built her entire life on borrowed beauty, borrowed pity, borrowed trust, borrowed rooms, borrowed light. Now every lender had finally come to collect. And I would be there, safe behind glass, watching each debt tear another piece from her hands. Mara returned on the coldest night of the season. The rain had frozen into a thin silver skin over the alley behind the bakery. Wind rattled the old window panes. Pipes groaned inside the walls, like something trapped and unwilling to die. I was at my desk, reviewing a contract beneath the warm circle of a lamp, when the hallway camera flashed. At first I thought the shape on the stairs was trash blown in from the street. Then it moved. Mara crawled up one step at a time, not walked. Crawled. Her coat hung open, soaked through. One shoe was missing. Her hair clung to her face in greasy strands. The scarf around her head had slipped, revealing the uneven patches near her temple, pale beneath the flickering hallway light. Her cheeks had healed badly in places, not monstrous, not dramatic enough for pity, only wrong enough to make beauty abandon her halfway. Behind her came my mother, then my sister, my father last. They looked worse than before. Not ruined like Mara, but stripped. My mother's polished hair was damp and flat. My sister's makeup had run beneath her eyes. My father's mouth carried the tight bitterness of a man who had begged someone richer for help and been refused. They had finally discovered what it cost to shelter a snake after it lost its charm. Mara reached my door and collapsed against it. "Lila," she whispered. I watched through the screen. My mother knocked with both hands. "Open the door. Please, just open the door, please." The word sounded unfamiliar in her mouth. I poured red wine into a glass and walked to the intercom. "What do you want?" My mother looked up at the camera, rainwater shining on her face. "Mara has nowhere to go. Her aunt threw her out. Your father lost clients because of the scandal. Your sister cannot get work because people keep reposting those things. We are being punished for one mistake." Mara lifted her head. "I am sorry," she sobbed. "Lila, I am sorry. I was jealous. I was stupid. I hated that everything looked easy for you. I hated your skin, your clothes, your calm, your little perfect life. I wanted to scare you. I wanted you to feel ugly for once. I did not know it would become this, for once." The words slid softly into the room and opened every grave. I saw the hospital again. My bandaged face, my mother comforting her, my father looking away, my sister scrolling, Mara bending over my dying body, red mouth shining. This is what happens when ordinary girls forget their place. I smiled. My mother pressed her palm to the door. "She is confessing. Is that not enough? She is on her knees. We all are. What more do you need?" I looked down at Mara through the camera. "Say it," I said. Mara trembled. "Say what?" "Say what you wanted me to feel." She shook her head, crying harder. "Please. Say it." My voice was quiet, but it cut through the hallway. Even my father stopped breathing loudly. Mara bent lower until her forehead touched the cold floor. "I wanted you ruined," she whispered. "I wanted people to laugh at you. I wanted your face gone. I wanted everyone to choose me. There, at last. No perfume, no soft lighting, no pity. Just the black root of her soul exposed under a hallway bulb." My sister covered her mouth. My mother stared at Mara, as if seeing her clearly had become painful only now when clarity could no longer save anyone. I took a slow sip of wine. "In another life you got exactly that," I thought. Aloud, "And they did choose you." My mother flinched. "Lila," I was scared. I did not know what to believe. "You believed what made me easiest to abandon." My father stepped forward. "Enough. We came to make peace." "No," I said. "You came because consequences reached your doorstep." His face hardened, but hunger had filed down his authority. The man who once spoke to me like a judge now stood outside my locked door with wet sleeves and empty hands. Mara clawed weakly at the threshold. "I will sign anything else. I will work for you. I will disappear. Just tell them to stop. Tell the lawyers to stop. Tell people I am not evil." I looked at her. "But you are." The hallway went still. Mara's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Evil did not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it borrowed your cardigans, stirred chemicals into your cream, and cried before anyone could inspect the spoon. My mother began sobbing. "She is still a person. So was I." "You are alive," my sister snapped. I turned my gaze toward her through the screen. "That is not thanks to any of you." She looked away first. I unlocked the outer door, then the inner latch, leaving only the chain. The door opened a narrow hand's span. Warm light from my studio spilled over their faces, touching their wet skin, their desperate eyes, their trembling mouths. Behind me they could see clean shelves, sealed windows, stacked supplies, the red wine in my hand, the quiet life I had built where none of them could reach me. Mara stared at the room like a starving dog watching meat behind glass. "Help me," she breathed. I leaned against the doorframe. "Do you remember what you told me when I begged through the bathroom door?" Her brow twisted. I do not know what you mean. Of course she did not, only I carried both lives, only I remembered the old tiles beneath my knees, the fire under my skin, her shadow waiting outside while my voice broke. I answered for her. You told me I should have shared. Mara blinked confused, my smile deepened, so I am sharing now. I lifted the wine glass slightly. I am sharing the truth you earned, the shame you planted, the loneliness you gave me first. Every bit of it belongs to you. My mother shook her head. You cannot leave people outside in this weather. Watch me. Mara let out a thin, wounded sound and reached through the gap. Her fingers brushed the air near my robe but did not touch me. Please, Lila. I will die. I looked at her hand. Once that hand had wiped poison across my burning skin just to watch my body fail. I closed the door until the chain pulled tight. Then die honestly. Her face emptied. My father lunged toward the door but stopped when I lifted my phone. The camera is recording, I said. He stepped back. There it was. The family spine, so strong against a wounded daughter, so weak before evidence. I closed the door fully. The lock turned with a clean final sound. Outside their voices broke apart. My mother cried my name, my sister cursed me, my father muttered threats that dissolved into the stairwell. Mara remained closest to the door. I could hear her breathing through the wood, wet and uneven, like the last flicker of a candle drowning in its own wax. I returned to my desk. The wine waited, dark as old blood. Hours passed. The hallway camera showed them huddled together at first. Then arguing, then blaming. My sister shoved Mara away when she clung too tightly. My mother slapped my sister for saying this was all Mara's fault. My father grabbed my mother's wrist. Mara laughed then, a cracked terrible sound, and said they were all cowards who only hated her because she had failed. The truth has a special cruelty when spoken by the guilty. By dawn, they were gone. All except Mara. She lay curled beside my door, lips pale, scarf half covering her face. Not dead, not yet, just exhausted, abandoned by the very pity she had spent her life stealing. When emergency services arrived, called by a neighbor, she opened her eyes once and looked into the hallway camera. For a moment I saw recognition. Not of me, of the law beneath all things. What you press into another person's skin eventually rises through your own. She survived that morning. Survival was harsher. There were no dramatic funerals, no lilies, no beautiful speeches. Mara entered the machinery of debt, charges, treatment, disgrace, and public memory. My family withdrew from her as soon as helping her became heavier than blaming me. Then they withdrew from one another, their house filled with silence, accusation, and unopened bills. I did not visit, I did not forgive, I did not explain. Years later, someone sent me a photo of Mara working behind a laundry counter, head bowed, face bare, hands cracked from detergent. I deleted it after one glance. Her punishment no longer needed my attention to continue. That evening, I opened a new jar of cream, plain glass. Clean scent, mine. In the mirror, my face looked calm beneath the light. I touched my cheek, then smiled. Karma is not blind. It simply waits until the guilty lean close enough to admire the blade.